So now we are going to describe hemisection of spinal cord. Now this hemisection of spinal cord is also known as Brown-Sequard syndrome, and features of Brown-Sequard syndrome or hemisection of the spinal cord are as follows. Now in hemisection of the spinal cord, there is at the level of the lesion, in hemisection of the spinal cord, at the level of the lesion, there is on the same side of the lesion, there is lower motor neuron type of motor loss and complete sensory loss. There is lower motor neuron type of motor loss because the plane of the section is passing through the motor neuron, and there is complete sensory loss because the sensory fibers are also suffering damage. Now on the opposite half, pain and temperature sensation along with crude touch may be lost. On the opposite half, at the level of the lesion, pain and temperature sensation along with crude touch may be lost because these pain and temperature fibers along with crude touch, they come to the affected side, they cross over to the affected side, and they may be damaged. Now here there is a diagram. Here we can see the level of the hemisection. Here you can see the level of the hemisection, and in this diagram we can see the descending lateral corticospinal tract is coming like this. This is the lateral corticospinal tract coming like this, and here is the neuron anterior horn cell from the fiber is coming down like this, and this is the anterior corticospinal tract. Now remember, this anterior corticospinal tract supplies bilaterally. It supplies both sides, the medial side, and so when this anterior corticospinal tract is transected by the hemisection, then there is, in addition to the damage on the same side, there is also slight damage on the other side, which we will discuss later. So when the anterior corticospinal tract is transected by the hemisection, because it supplies bilaterally, so in addition to the motor loss on the same side, there is some degree of motor loss on the other side. Now here the lateral spinal tract is damaged in the hemisection on the same side. Now that is about the motor. These are about the motor symptoms. In the next in the diagram in the next slide, we'll see the sensory loss. Now here below the level of the lesion, here below the level of the level of the lesion is above, and below the level of the lesion what happens? Let us see. On the same side of the lesion, there is upper motor neuron type of deficit. There is upper motor neuron type of deficit. Here there is the lesion here is upper motor neuron because the hemisection is much above. So this is upper motor type of lesion and characterized by spastic paralysis, exaggerated deep reflexes, and other features of upper motor neuron lesion due to disrupted lateral corticospinal tract. So there is upper motor neuron type of deficit characterized by spastic paralysis, the features of the upper motor neuron lesion, spastic paralysis, exaggerated deep reflexes, and other features due to disrupted lateral corticospinal tract. Now at the same time, there is ipsilateral loss of fine touch, joint sense, vibration sense, tactile localization, etc. due to damage to the tracts of gall and Broda which run ipsilaterally. Now in the diagram that will be shown in the next slide, we'll find that the tracts of gall and Broda, tracts of gall and Broda, they enter in this spinal cord and they go up ipsilaterally. They go up ipsilaterally, and so therefore they are transected. Those fibers, tracts of gall and Broda, because they ascend ipsilaterally, those fibers are transected, and so there is ipsilateral loss of fine touch, joint sense, vibration sense, tactile localization, etc. due to damage to the tracts of gall and Broda which run ipsilaterally. Now next we come to the diagram. Here it shows the sensory fibers. The sensory fibers. We are just telling about the tract of Gall-and-Broda, this blue line, the tract of Gall-and-Broda running, ascending ipsilaterally, and they are getting transected, getting cut by this hemisection. As a result, there is loss of ipsilateral fine touch sensation, along with that vibration sense, position sense, etc. And and you can see that there are the pain and temperature sensation, crude touch sensation. These are transmitted in front of the central canal and go on the other side. So there they escape. That the escape transection. So the pain and temperature and crude touch sensation below the level of the lesion, they escape. And so on the opposite side of lesion, let us see what happens. Let us see what happens on the opposite side. Now the opposite side, the motor deficit is slight due to damage of the anterior corticospinal tract fibers on the side of the lesion, which partly cross near the level of termination. So motor deficit is slight due to damage of the anterior corticospinal tract fibers on the side of lesion, which partly cross near the level of termination. This we have described just before, that the anterior corticospinal tract coming down the side of the lesion, they supply bilaterally, and because they are transected, the part of the motor fibers on the opposite side, they are affected, and so there is slight motor deficit. Now the sensory loss is remarkable. The sensory loss on the opposite side is remarkable, as the anterior and lateral spinothalamic tracts of the opposite side of lesion cross over to the side of lesion are interrupted. So here you can see that this sensory loss is remarkable, because the pain, temperature and crude touch sensations coming from the other side, they pass in front of the central canal, and then they ascend on the same side, and they get transected by the hemisection. So pain and temperature and crude touch sensation on the other side is affected. However, this tracts of Gall-and-Broda on the other side, tracts of Gall-and-Broda carrying fine touch sensation, they ascend ipsilaterally on the other side, and they are unaffected. So fine touch, vibration sense, position sense, etc., they are unaffected on the other side. Now this leads to the loss of crude touch, pain and temperature on the other side, but fine touch on the opposite side of lesion is